This is Abe Freetanzer from Awards Watch, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with David Diggs today. How are you, David?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your first Emmy nomination.
Thank you.
What was it like having Hamilton come out on Disney Plus during the pandemic and knowing that so many people were, inside their homes watching
It was a trip. I think we were all just doing what we were doing. Everybody was just trying to get by at that moment. So I was sort of hopeful that it was bringing joy to some people, and it seemed to some of the feedback I got would imply that that was the case. But also, like, I wasn't thinking about it. I was also like, you know, trying to minimize the amount of 9 a.m. cocktails I was having, and like, figuring out ways to like stay active and work out when you're stuck in the house, things like that. So.
Do you think that the way our country has changed over the past few years since the stage musical first debuted has affected the relevance and resonance of Hamilton?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch that. Theater is such a product of its time, and normally that is because it is performed in a particular place at a particular time. And so Hamilton performing it in 2015 and 16 in New York at the tail end of the Obama presidency felt like there was a celebratory vibe to it in a lot of ways. There was a sort of, this is brown bodies performing the creation of our democracy, of American democracy, felt like a nod to a promise that had been woven into the Constitution but hadn't yet been realized, And while there was clearly still a lot of realizing to do, it was something about that moment made Hamilton feel like a bit of a celebration of the existence of that promise. And then seeing it again in 2020 with, so close on the heels of George Floyd's murder, and with a sort of renewed attention to this idea of Black Lives Matter, and towards the tail end of the Trump presidency, it felt there was a bit more of an action, of a call to arms about it, I think. It was like, if you love this, remember that this is what you stand for, and why are we letting all of the things that are happening right in front of our faces on camera right now continue to happen? So yeah, they have the filmed version and the performed version for me have very, very different vibes.
That's fair. And did it surprise you when Disney pushed Hamilton in film categories, the Golden Globes, and then TV categories for Screen Actors Guild and Emmys and all that?
I don't know. That's all so far above my pay grade. I didn't think about it one way or another. I just, yeah, it's cool. It's also a weird thing to be nominated at all for anything in any category for a show you're not performing. And that you film, even if it were a television show. I mean, it is, I guess, but even if I also filmed it 5 years ago, so it's not like I have this cool recent memory of being on set grinding through the thing. Like, this is a pretty distant memory for me at this point.
Did you ever imagine that this would become such a popular, long-lasting phenomenon?
No, it's a play. It's a play. That's not how musicals work. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done many musicals, but I have done a ton of theater, and like I that's not how it's supposed to go. But cool that it did.
Do you ever get tired of talking about it, or it's still fun?
It's actually fun again. There was a while in the midst of it, really close on the really, like, Tony season was crazy for me, and being that, having to be working on it every day and talking about it every night was a trip. And it was hard because the show energized so many people. Everybody who came to see it wanted to talk about it for weeks and weeks, and people who couldn't get to see it wanted to talk about how they couldn't see it, and it provided a lot of energy. But we were doing 8 shows a week. And so we were totally sapped of energy. So to be able to exchange, to be able to meet somebody at that level was really difficult. Now that I'm not working on it, I have energy to spare. So it's actually fun to talk to people who are excited about it.
That's fair. Well, fortunately, you have a lot of other projects I want to ask you about, but let me do one more about this, which is that you're competing against two of your co-stars in your Emmy category. What does that feel like? I know you did the same thing at the Tonys, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's just how it goes with this show. I mean, it's great. I hope it means we're all going to be at the same party. That's the real. That's what I'm hoping for there. We don't all get to hang out very much, so yeah, awards are excuses to dress fancy and hopefully go to a good party. And this last year of them hasn't been that, so they've been excuses to dress fancy and sit on a couch being shown from the waist up, which feels like a waste. So they seem to still be planning on doing this one in person. So I'm sure it'll be very restricted and very safe and all of that. But hopefully we get to party together.
Yeah, you're also in very good company with Thomas Brody Sangster and Papa Seydu and Evan Peters. It's a really, really great category, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's and I don't know those guys, so but I'm a fan of, so it'll be great to hopefully get to see and meet them.
Absolutely. So it was a big, year and a half for you. You got to play another historical figure in The Good Lord Bird. What can you share about that experience now that that's a little bit removed too?
It was the best. I mean, it's a dream role, that particular version of Frederick Douglass, and The Good Lord Bird, for anyone who hasn't read James McBride's novel, should rush out and read it immediately. It's one of the most impressive pieces of writing I've ever read, and it is funny. I don't think I've ever laughed as hard reading a thing. And then to get for Ethan Hawke so Ethan came and saw me doing a play, White Noise, a new Susan Laurie Parks play at the Public. And then we had coffee the next day and he said, hey, I think you'd be great as the Frederick Douglass in this book. And he handed me the book. But to get to work with Ethan, who is such a genius and an incredibly generous actor also, but just like brilliant. I soaked up so much game. Darnell Martin directed my episode of that show and she's so phenomenal. So yeah, just I soaked up a lot of game on that show. I'm a much better actor because of that show. And I also think it is so daring and yeah, people should watch it. It's a very bold, very daring show, and I think so beautiful. So I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Oh, that's great to hear. And you do voiceover work on another show that's very, very different, and that's Central Park.
Yeah.
So what is that experience like, and what can fans expect from the upcoming season 3?
I mean, Central Park is an awesome show. It's so joyous, and it's so much fun to work on. It's obviously Josh Gad, one of the creators, and Lauren Bouchard, who created Bob's Burgers, and it's got that same kind of like fast dialogue, like a million jokes per minute sort of vibe to it. The thing that's really, really different about it is the music on the show is bananas. It is like, it's so much better than it has any business being. And so, recording, you get to read these hysterically funny lines all the time, and they're super open to you playing around and doing whatever you want to do. But then also, and then you get sent these songs that are just these perfect, brilliant songs all across genre, and each episode has 3 full songs in them. It's a real musical, and it's just so much fun. And season 3 continues more of that. It's a wild ride, and they have so many great ideas, and the cast is nuts. Yeah, just it's so good.
You're also on an animated show that I love that I haven't heard or thought about in a long time, and that's Undone. And
oh man, how great was that? Like I'm only in the first half of the first season, but man, it's beautiful. And the scripts, I remember when I was getting them, when I was doing it, they're the best things. Those are some of the best scripts I've read, period. Like it's so good. Yeah, I feel like a fan of that show. It doesn't really feel like something I did, but I'm definitely just a huge fan of it.
And I know it's supposed to be coming back for season 2, but we heard that a long, long time ago. Is that something you might be involved in?
I don't think so. Not that I know of, but maybe. But also those things, it takes so long to make the obvious. I mean, it's really beautifully animated and the whole rotoscoping stuff. It's a trip to work on. You basically film it like you're doing a black box theater piece. Like, you know, we were in an office building with a bunch of things that just sort of mimic the height of the various objects that'll be in the scene with you. But that's about it. It's really fun as an actor. And super rare for TV. You shoot like 20 pages a day. I mean, everything's really fast. So that's cool. But then it takes a very long time to make something that looks as beautiful as that show does.
Wow. And I mean, I think the show I've seen you on most is probably Snowpiercer. And the ultimate compliment I can give you is that my wife really does not like science fiction, but she loves that show. And everyone, you know, we see, I give all these TV recommendations. She's like, you have to watch Snowpiercer. That's the show you need to watch.
I'll take it, man. It's a trip. It's a trip. It's a big like sci-fi show, you know. But the cast is so phenomenal. Again, like I get to come to work with the best people, and that if there's a through line for me, it's just that like I just keep trying to work with great people, and I've been very fortunate to get to continue to do that. And Snowpiercer is really no exception. It's I love those guys. We just wrapped season 3. We literally just finished last week, and season 4 got greenlit, so we're gonna do it again. And so many fights on a train, you know. It's wild.
Well, I remember watching sometime, I don't remember if it was season 1 or season 2 during the pandemic, where there was a nosebleed on the train and everyone just started going into this like quarantine mode. And I was like, wow, this is actually something sort of like what we're seeing now.
Yeah,
but there's such relevance, I think, on this show. What appealed to you about doing that for this future set thing?
It was, you know, the conceit of it is a cool one. I think for that, it sets itself up to be very relevant, and good sci-fi does this, right? Created this really simple allegory, right? Like there's everybody left alive is on a train, so that's the whole world, and we get to see class play out in this linear way because it's a train. So first class is in the front. The further you go back, the like lower class you are, until we're like stowaways in the tails, basically, without resources. And so it became like a really easy way to talk about ourselves, and to see how political power shifts in political power can drastically change the way societies function. It was a really easy allegory, and I think that's what's good about it. If you make the conceit really, really simple, then you get to fill it with all of the complex humanity stuff. You know, people are very complicated, but often systems can be boiled down to something pretty simple if you remove the humanity from them. So.
And I mean, it's diverged considerably from the original film. Were you a fan of that before coming onto the show?
I was. I mean, I didn't know. I watched it when I got sent the script, so I hadn't known it before then. But I mean, it's a great piece of filmmaking, and really, really impressive. I think one of the appealing things about the show was that it got to be less linear. That film is such a like an adrenaline rush from the back of the train to the front. You discover every, you know, but there was only so many times I think I would have been willing to like walk into a room and go, right, like you can only see a new train car so many different times. And so so it was nice that from jump, the creators were kind of like, we're gonna start in the same place, and then we're gonna go all over the place. We're gonna follow a bunch of different people. We're gonna see how small things become big and stuff like that. So.
And I think season 2 ended on almost as big a cliffhanger as season, a game changer as season 1. Without spoiling too much, what can we expect from season 3 aside from more fights on a train?
Yeah, man. I mean, the game has certainly changed. It's yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure how to not spoil things really, because kind of like every second of season 3 to me has some insane moment in it. It's like there's so many things happen in this show, man. But they're all additive. So just if you liked 1 and 2, you will like 3, because it is that more. It's that turned up. This one goes to 11, and then we'll try. I guess we'll see if season 4 can go to 12.
Yeah. And what is it like sharing scenes with Sean Bean?
He's great. Sean is great. He just brings it every single time. He's so fun. And what's wild about him is he's so soft spoken when you're not acting. He's very, he's very matter of fact about things, like doesn't really talk much. He'll have very quiet conversations about breakfast. And you get on stage and it's Mr. Wilford. And he's, it's like a immediate transformation. And an immediate, he lets it go so easy too, I've definitely like done some crazy, like incredibly violent, had some like crazy violent moments with him that like were the most kind of, while we were in them, were the most like physically just like terrifying moments that maybe I've had in front of a camera, and then cut. It's like, oh yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. But he's an incredible actor. Again, I like learning from people. I like working with people who are better than me. He's really great. But everybody on that show, I find myself learning from them all the time.
That's awesome. And so you don't star in this one, but I've been watching a lot of Blindspotting recently. I love the movie. I saw it at Sundance a few years ago. Was the plan always to have a show like this? And was this always going to be the focus? Were you ever going to be in it? Are you going to be in it?
Oh man, no, the plan was never, definitely we did not plan on having a show. It wasn't our idea. Lionsgate approached us and said they thought it was a TV show, and we were like, you're crazy. But they wanted to have the meeting anyway. So me and Rafael Casal sort of started spinning our wheels on, well, what would make this a show we would want to do in the event of success, which is a weird thing. That's a weird like TV specific thing. You really have to plan on the success of it, because you're only going to be doing it for a long time if it's successful. But if it is like, and you don't like it, you're still doing it for a long time. So we had to figure out a version of this show that, in the bananas off chance possibility that people liked it, we would be happy to continue to come back to it. And we realized very quickly that that definitely didn't star us, because we had told the part of Miles and Colin's story that we were interested in, but we did know that Jasmine Cephas-Jones helped us create this incredible character of Ashley, who we're in love with, and we did not get enough of her story in the film. And so that's what we came in and pitched this thing that we were like, they'll say no, and then we can go on about our lives. And they were like, absolutely, that sounds great. Which was a cool sort of ego death to know that like your appearance in the show didn't have anything to do with whether or not they wanted it, but also was great because we got to make the show we wanted to make in a lot of different ways. We presented this crazy idea where there'd be sort of a Greek chorus of dancers and like fourth wall breaking verse that would happen, and we wanted to shoot. It's still set in Oakland, and we want to shoot in Oakland, and we want to do, we came with a list of demands that we assumed would make it a non-starter, and it didn't. And so yeah, so we started on this crazy journey, and I'm more proud of it than anything I've ever been in before. I think it's the best thing I've ever done, and it's wild to, as someone who was sort of who's primarily like an actor or a musician who is in front of things. It's a cool feeling to feel that way about something where that's not the case. Like, I'm not in it at all, but I do feel like it is the best thing I've ever done. It's wonderful to know that I can still get that high and not be in front of the camera. That says something for the longevity that maybe I can have and still enjoy making things.
Have you heard anything about season 2 yet?
Nothing I can say publicly. So.
Okay. Do you like the half-hour format? Is that a nice length for each episode?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It actually, there are a bunch of things I did not know were true about it, but I think there's something really nice about our lack of plot expectation from a half hour, right? You don't have to put a ton of events in it. People don't expect, when you're watching an hour-long show, drama or comedy, you expect a lot of things to happen over the course of whatever, 46 minutes or whatever it is. But over the course of, hopefully, if we're doing our job right, 28 minutes, like nobody really expects that many things to happen, which means there's all this space for real character stuff and real out there stuff too. I don't think people take advantage of it the way that they should because of that low expectation on plot. It's the reason we can have a 4-minute dance piece in the middle of a, like, I would have thought that that was not going to work in a half-hour show, but to me it worked so well because we actually didn't need another thing to happen. Then we needed to experience how this character felt about this moment, and so there's really space for that. In a way, it feels so much more open to me than the hour format does.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating, really interesting. And there's a much shorter project that I'd love to ask you about, and that's Puppy for Hanukkah. Um, that was something. I mean, it's particularly cool to me because you include Hebrew words in it, and it feels really fun and sort of authentic in a weird way because it's just so out there. But it's nice that I think a lot of Hollywood representations of Judaism don't really feel that way. So how does it feel looking back on it, and can we expect a sequel this Hanukkah season?
I don't know. That was like really, the Disney Channel reached out to my band, to Clipping, which is a crazy thing for them to do. If you know Clipping, like that's we're maybe sort of the least Disney Channel kind of band ever, but we have all worked for Disney in a number of ways. And so they said, hey, we think Hanukkah could use a song for right now. We're like, and you think we're the ones to make it? And they're like, we do. And so we're very clear on the, so 4 kids, right? It's gonna be on the Disney. Yeah, okay. And it was another one of these moments. I think a lot of things that I end up really liking start like this, with a bunch of reasons why we shouldn't do it, but then you slowly start to find the ways that the reasons you should. And Jonathan was really fascinated with klezmer music and really wanted to make a beat with klezmer clarinet in it, and had been wanting to for a while, unbeknownst to me. And so there was that opportunity, and like there was something about, we started talking about Hanukkah and just like, what are the things about it that make it Hanukkah? And mostly it was, this idea that like maybe there was when you were a kid, like maybe there was going to be one sort of marquee gift and the rest of the time you're going to get socks or whatever, so like people used to be like, oh, that's, the non-Jews were like, man, you get presents for 8 nights. It's like sort of but like not really. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, maybe my manager or I can't remember, somebody in our conversation about this had remembered getting a puppy one time. We're like, oh, that's it right there. So once you have an idea, it's hard to stop thinking about the idea. And that was kind of it. We had already thought about it so much that there was a whole song there. So we just made the song. And then they did the rest. I mean, we just handed them the song, and they shot the video that's so adorable and pushed it out there so that people could experience it. And yeah, it seemed like it really resonated for a lot of folks this Hanukkah, which is shocking and also really fun. So yeah, I don't know if there's a sequel. I mean, we as a band had always talked about a holiday album. It would not be Disney Channel appropriate if we did it, but like, there's a good chance we'd still figure out a way to do that one day.
That's great. And we've talked about a lot of great TV that you're, either in or working on. What have you watched and really enjoyed during the pandemic?
Man, I feel so bad for this question that comes up because like because the honest answer is like I watch nothing new or that like contributes to the like, discuss, particularly now that it's like Emmy season. But like I am obsessed with British detective shows. That's my thing, really. And being at home long enough was able to discover some that I didn't know existed, like Rosemary and Thyme, which I became totally obsessed with. And I've been watching Vera a lot lately, which is still on and is incredible. But yeah, so that's always my answer to this, which I feel like is not really appropriate for the now, but those are the things I've been watching. Plus, all the various baking shows in whatever different country I'm in. Great British, Great Canadian, whatever, wherever I am.
That's great. And what else do you have in the pipeline right now?
Okay. What are the? I think too many things are in a phase of do not speak about for the moment. So I probably won't. I won't bring any of them up. But plenty of things. If you are following me, you won't miss me. for still. I think there's still a steady stream of things to come. So,
And are you hoping to do more theater when that's something that is really possible?
God, I would love to. Yeah, so doing White Noise at the Public was so fun for me also because I hadn't done a play since Hamilton at that point. And even Hamilton's not, that's sort of outside of the realm of what I usually do. I like straight plays in relatively small theater spaces. And I know those will be kind of the last things to come back in full force. But I cannot wait to just do like be in a 300 seat thing and do a new play and like be trying to figure it out, like that's what I really love doing. So
awesome. Well, I really appreciate you speaking with me today and look forward to all these updates.
hey, thanks so much, man.